Dr. James J.C. Cooley. That's right.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
Yeah. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Can you hear me, Michelle?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. And I tell you, we got this absolutely fantastic show coming your way. You already know it's Tuesday, and the link is what you think. Most importantly, 360-degree health with the one and only Dr. Michael Mantell. But I tell you what, before we get this thing started, I want to get the whole show started. So, hey, Todd, let's do it, man. Let's lock in all the.
Are y'all ready for the show? Are y'all ready for the show? It's your life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Yes, I tell you, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your Dr. James J.C. Cooley. But as you know, Tuesday, 360-degree health, and also the link is what you think with the one and only Dr. Michael Mantell. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. I am looking forward to our guest today. I know she's going to bring tremendous knowledge, and we can all, no pun intended, learn from her.
I'm excited about this guest. I mean, what we have read and what Michelle had shared on social media and what you have shared also on our social media platform. This is going to be an outstanding show. So I tell you, I'm looking forward to this guest and can't wait to get on. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Can't wait to introduce this amazing guest that we have on the show today.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, whichever platform that you watch this on, whether it's E360 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and over other 80 live platforms, welcome to the show. If you want to be part of this conversation, a couple of ways that you can do it. You can go to the platform that you're watching us on, ask any question that you might have in the comments portion, or you can pick up the phone because you're on radio as well and dial 1-888-344-1170 again. That's 1-888-344-1170. So, Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest that we have?
Yes, the title of today's show is called Dyslexia Awareness Month, and we're having a sit-down conversation with Dr. Rebecca Mannis. She is a learning specialist with expertise both in neuropsychology and instruction. She's also the founder of Ivy Prep Learning Center. We're going to talk about items such as bridging the gap between diagnosis and real-world application, integrating brain science and educational practice, whole person lifespan approach to learning, empowering families through collaborative advocacy, incorporating AI into instruction and consulting. So, wow, Dr. Rebecca Mannis, her program, Ivy Prep Learning Center, bridges neuropsychology or the brain science of learning and tactical support and intervention, enrichment across the lifespan. She's a master at Harvard Grad School of Education, where she also served as an appointee to the Ed School's Alumni Council, Ph.D. from Teachers College in Columbia University. Through her nonprofit, the Mannis Foundation, she provides advocacy, program, and support for children and adults whose educational needs are not sufficiently met. But we're going to have her tell you more about what she does and just everything she's currently doing. Please welcome to the show the very first time, Dr. Rebecca Mannis.
How you doing, Dr. Mannis?
Welcome. Thank you.
That's a way to be welcome.
This is going to be such an incredible show. And what you're going to talk about today, bridging the gap between diagnosis and real world applications and other things that we're going to talk about are so important to our audience to get an understanding of things that it's going to help them out. It's going to help them have a better life, going to help them better diagnose a lot of things and also reach out to the healthcare community because you all are the professionals. So I got the first question now, as always, Dr. Mannis. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what made you click, and why you're so passionate about what you do?
It's a pleasure to be here, especially seeing the start to your program with that know who you are. We may be separated by 3,000 miles, but here on Zoom, we have the same perspective. So I'm a learning specialist, and I had the good fortune to not necessarily have things go the way that I expected in college. When I was a college student, I volunteered at a program at a local teaching hospital where neuropsychologists did evaluations with children and adults to understand the way that they learned. But I was also kind of young in college, and so when I applied to doctoral programs for a Ph.D., a number of those programs said, Rebecca, let's get to know you a little bit, and we're going to save a spot for you in a PhD once you show us what you've got at the master's level. This ended up being a tremendous silver lining for me because it gave me a unique opportunity to first study how to teach people with different learning styles. And that ended up informing my understanding of what to do to translate testing and bring it to real life. It set me up to be a bridge between the field of neuropsychology, or testing people in a quiet room using specific measures and systems, but then to think about how to bridge that to real life, whether it was at home, whether it was when they were teaching children in third grade reading class, or even thinking toward being a physician and what to do in the workplace if you have ADHD.
So interesting. I was going to ask you what drew you to the bridge of neuroscience and education and psychology, and you answered already. So we're off to a great start. We just completed a international, actually, Dyslexia Awareness Week. I understand it was originally started back in 2002 in England. And I'm curious about your work with dyslexia. When we think of children, of course, we think of kids who have learning difficulties, ADHD, dyslexia. What is it about dyslexia that has captured our attention, do you believe?
I think that there's been a real development and trajectory to people's interest in this. First of all, because of programs like yours and the internet, there's much more of an understanding of what learning is about and about why there might be variations to how people learn and problems that they encounter at different times. So, as an example, there is an organization called Docs with Disabilities, which is just for that. There may be a person who is in med school who knew from the time that they were 7 that they were dyslexic, or it may have only come up when the person was trying to study for the MCAT, the med school admissions test, and found that they had enormous difficulty synthesizing information from the programs that were designed to remind them about some of the pre-med content. So first of all, the information highway has added so much, and I think it's also made people feel less alone in that process, whether it's a child, an adult, or a parent or a practitioner. Along with that, we have better tools now to understand how people learn. And again, I'll use that word, the developmental lifespan, or the word trajectory. In fact, when I volunteered at that hospital all those years ago, I had the good fortune to assist people who were looking at what we call subtypes of language difficulty. We know that about 60-70% of people who have dyslexia, the underpinning for that, the main cause is language difficulty. So that program all those years ago tried to understand patterns that preschoolers showed in terms of their ability to take in information. We call that receptive language. In terms of their development using language to communicate, expressive language, and also what we call language pragmatics, understanding the social aspects of using communication skills. And basically what they found was that the children who had these difficulties early on and were identified with language problems tended to grow into reading difficulty. Now, back to your question, the advantage that we have now is that we understand how to diagnose earlier, how to intervene, and also how to help parents and children advocate as they go through the educational lifespan.
Rebecca, you are filled with information. I love your answers. They're great. Let me come back to something. So you talked about different types of language difficulties that young children may have and begin to show early on. Let's talk to a parent right now who's listening. What would a parent see? What could a parent pick up? What should a parent be looking for without formal diagnosis, but like, I think our son or our daughter does that. What can they identify?
It may be that your child is really motivated and not trying to be disagreeable when it's time to get ready to go out to hockey practice. But somehow, when you remind your child of the 3 things that he needs to do before you get into the van, that your child can't remember those sequences. It may be that your child really loves having a play date with a friend, but is having difficulty communicating what he has in mind when it's time to share or work on a certain Lego activity together. Those are examples of language processing or input difficulty, or language expression difficulty. And so those are markers where parents not only have the heart to really think about this, but they've got the eagle eyes and they see their kids in so many contexts.
Right. And as this is so important that parents are hearing this, that there's ways you can pick it up. So then I think a question that maybe a logical question might be, so the young person who's in medical school or taking the MCATs, the admissions test for medical school, how have they gone through all of elementary school, junior high school, 4 years of college, and no one picked this up? How is that possible?
All right, hold that thought, Doc, because we got to take a station break. I don't want to, but my producer would beat me up, and I tell you what, whichever platform that you watch this on, if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments on whichever platforms you watch this on, asking the question that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
It's your show.
A black
The future is here.
Now is the time to pursue the greatness in you. Welcome to Viridian Christian University, where faith meets future. We are a fully accredited, 100% online Christian university. We offer bachelor's degree, master's and doctorate degree programs, built for students like you. Affordable tuitions, 30+ degree programs, 100% online and flexible. Integrating faith with learning. Study from anywhere at your pace. At VCU, we do not just prepare you for a degree. We prepare you for purpose. Discover who you are. Grow in faith. And build a future that impacts the world.
Are you ready to start your journey today?
Visit www.viridianchristianuniversity.com.
Apply today and be among the global leaders.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Cooley. Heart disease research saves lives. It's that simple. Thanks to medical advancements funded by the American Heart Association, more women are surviving heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular diseases than ever before. But there's still so much work to do.
Hi, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I'm raising funds to support life-saving research because every heartbeat is worth fighting for. In honor of Women's History Month, please join me in support of the American Heart Association and women's health.
Online degree programs that cater to your busy life. Our innovative platform provides a personalized learning experience, empowering you to thrive in today's ever-evolving world. Join a global community of learners guided by an experienced faculty who are committed to your success. With VCU, you're not just earning a degree, you're preparing for a future that integrates faith, leadership, and service. Viridian Christian University, educating with purpose, transforming lives. Learn more at ViridianChristianUniversity.com.
Hey, it's your life.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, but I tell you, Tuesday, it's all Dr. Michael Mantell. The link is what you think, and also 360-degree health. And Dr. Mike, you done it again. The first segment, I never even said this early, but the first segment, I can tell that this guest that you have invited on, she knocking home runs already, and we're still in the first, second inning. So I tell you, we're going to get back to this. I know that you're watching. I'm looking at the numbers. The numbers are crazy, Dr. Mike. The numbers are crazy. If you want to be part of this great conversation that we are having and that we're going to continue to have, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. You can pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. My producer, Todd Pirate, and our San Diego studio will put you through. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Mike.
Thank you very much, James, for your beautiful, lovely, wonderfully positive comments. Dr. Mannis described you as being positive psychology, JC. I love it. Listen, so we were talking about medical students, hypothetical medical student. Okay, this woman or man got through preschool, got through grammar school, elementary school. I call it grammar school, elementary school, junior high, high school, college, and then bumps into the boards to get into medical school, the MCAS, and says, I'm having some difficulty here processing this information. Is it possible that it wasn't picked up? Is that where we are in our society today?
That's a reality. The downside is that it took that long for the person to get there, and now we have much more of a rich understanding. The upside is that probably that person will be a great physician and learn how to manage the dyslexia, because that person also brings not only the empathy from their lived experience, but also tremendous competencies that enable them to compensate earlier on. Shall I give you an example or two?
Absolutely, of course.
So, since it is Dyslexia Awareness Month, we have to geek out a little on what that means. So, dyslexia is a condition which happens when there's a gap between the person's ability to think, their intellectual skills, and their academic performance, their actual reading speed, the pace at which they're able to incorporate new information and use it with fluency. We call that automaticity. The person's comprehension skills when they're looking at print and they need to absorb what they're reading in a book. So a person could have enormous ability to conceptualize how molecules fit together or about melting point. That's different from how the person might be processing complicated ideas that the professor is saying. It might be different than the person's learning curve when they have to read very dense information in a textbook. And so it might be that it's only in the circumstance where they suddenly need to incorporate the information that's so dense and at that fast pace that suddenly it's not just, oh, gee, I better leave myself a little bit of extra time after tennis because I have a chem test. Suddenly it's, wow, my pacing is really so different from the other people with whom I'm study buddies. Let me look into why that's the case.
So when an adult bumps into an undiagnosed learning difficulty, tell me what a compassionate, evidence-based first step might be. What do you recommend that adult do?
First of all, as Dr. Cooley said in his very cool intro, parents and people, their other loved ones, really know them. Not only are they committed to them, they've got those realistic, naturalistic experiences to draw upon as they think through what might be going on. So step one is Ask yourself a few questions. What is it about this situation that's really helped me, where it might have been tough, but I found a workaround, a hack? What is it about this that's really getting in the way? And then, whether it's going to resources that Dr. Cooley and you might have posted, whether it's speaking with a trusted friend who's also a therapist, whether it's going back and talking with your pediatrician, which is something a med student can do, right? Ask them, here are some markers that I have. Here are some details. How can I start to put these puzzle pieces together? So that's step one. Step two is, in this field or any other one, it's all about really understanding yourself and understanding what other people might do for you. So reach out to other people who you may have heard about or interviews that you may have watched on YouTube, and try to get a feel for the different vantage points that people bring to the equation. I'll give you one fast example, Dr. Mantell. A pre-med student who's considering taking the MCAT, but who reads slowly. Boy, that person's really stressed out. It can be incredibly anxiety provoking. So it's good to kind of self-reflect, going back to the idea of evidence-based. Let me understand what's behind this enormous stress that I'm feeling. Is this a matter of exploring if I have real underlying anxiety, which is slowing down my reading pace? Do I need to do some cognitive behavioral therapy to manage intense feelings that are interfering with my ability to sit and do the studying that I need? On the other hand, a person could do wonderful CBT and understandably be anxious. But if the person needs really strategic systems to read more clearly, well, maybe it's not the best resource investment to be spending time working on anxiety management. You want to work on those underlying systems which are the root cause of your anxiety.
You know, it's interesting. I have a client who's a first-year law student, and this is a woman, and she said, I realized I must have dyslexia. And I said to her, you have it. It doesn't mean you are it. And she went, wow, you're right. Doesn't mean it's just something that I have that I can get through. That's such an important element here. Okay, let's shift gears. I want to talk, you used the expression learning health. Talk about what learning health means and how it matters as much to our well-being as what we eat, our exercise, and our sleep.
It's a really important concept from my point of view. You know, first of all, we're all learning, whether it's a 7-year-old who's learning how to break the code to understand about how syllables work so that they can then understand sentences, whether it's the med student, or we know that adults can now expect, young adults can expect that they're probably going to have 5 stages to their career development and career paths along the way. We also know that one of the key elements to staving off cognitive decline down the road is staying engaged around learning. But learning involves not just knowing information, but really understanding how to approach attacking something new or absorbing new learning systems so that you can then turnkey those insights to work more deeply and effectively and to apply them to new situations.
So I want to try and make neuroscience a little more relatable, and you have that heart to be able to do that. You've worked so deeply and so extensively with people who have ADHD. We should define that in a moment. Dyslexia, of course, brain injuries. What do people often misunderstand about these challenges? We've touched on it a little bit, but I want to give you an opportunity to go back into that. Talk about a little bit about what do people not get about ADHD and dyslexia and learning difficulties?
Well, we can start off with what you said to your client, and it speaks to the importance of team collaboration and understanding perspectives. One of the things that's really important is to understand that it's a component of what contributes to how we're functioning, but that doesn't mean it defines who we are. It's an important consideration because for all of our knowledge, We're also people who are inclined to bring certain biases to our understanding of our own or other people's situations. And there's a lot of misattribution. So it would be really unfortunate if that med student was mentored by a pre-med advisor who questioned their motivation, when in fact the reality was that the person was just not able to process as quickly and had to pick up their fluency so that they could absorb the information. So my experience, having mentored so many people over the years, is that there can be both a false positivity and an underappreciation for how complicated this is. And at the same time, we don't want to be negative. I've worked with people who were told that there would be no way that they'd be able to attain their goals. It may have required different approaches, different paths to get there. They may have required certain accommodations that they're legally entitled to as a civil right along the way. They may have had to develop the fortitude in order to manage just how complicated it is. I ultimately feel that that means that they've got enormous skin in the game, and hopefully they're going to end up doing what they love and setting a great example for other people.
I think we have less than a minute left before this segment. We'll wait for JC to come back in. But you often say that learning differences are learning strengths in disguise. You flip it around. Dr. Cooley is going to come in and tell us we have to take a break, but I want to come back to that question. Learning differences, learning strengths.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to have to take a station break. I'm sitting back here just enjoying this discussion. I'll probably get into it a little bit more once we get back, ask a couple of questions, but this is so intriguing, and I'll tell you what, if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask any questions that you might
At Meridian Christian University, we believe education is more than just a degree. It's a pathway to a purpose-driven life. Whether you're advancing your career, pursuing a passion, or building a new future, VCU's 100% online programs give you the flexibility to learn on your terms, anywhere, anytime. With expert faculty, personalized mentorship, and a faith-centered approach, you'll gain the skills, knowledge, and leadership you need to make a lasting impact. VCU offers bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees, each designed to empower you for success in today's fast-changing world. Join a global community of believers, learners, and leaders. Ready to start your journey? Meridian Christian University, transforming lives, empowering futures. Visit us at meridianchristianuniversity.com.
Country boy, sit.
Dr. James JC Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. All right.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
J.C. Cooley. That's right.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And just like what we're talking about right now, we 360-degree health, bridges, closing bridges, diagnosing a lot of different things, dyslexia and other things that these two great doctors are talking about. But I want to go into this segment before we even get to the next one. Dr. Mike, I want to do the link is what you think.
Okay.
On this segment. So, can you explain to our viewers and listeners that they don't know what this means?
Well, if they don't know what this means, we're going to learn right now. This is the book. The Link is What You Think by none other than me. There I am. The Link is What You Think. And the book has got all kinds of wonderful pictures of my own family in it. And it's quite a very personal book. So I wrote back in 1988, the original Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. P.S. It's all small stuff. And then, of course, I wrote a book on violence in the workplace. And this book, The Link is What You Think. I like to help people live better and disturb themselves less. So I just choose every week on the show 5 different things I open randomly. This one's page 65. Want to be happy? There it is. I'm just going to read it. 5 things. Want to be happy? Eagerly enjoy trying something new. Want to be happy? Run your own race and never, ever look for validation outside of yourself. Want to be happy? Focus on what's going right every moment, every day. Be sure you go to bed thinking what went right today and what could go right tomorrow. Want to be happy? Celebrate the success and happiness of other people. And number 5, want to be happy? See rejection as true redirection, something that Dr. Mannis and I touched on earlier. Setbacks, look at as simply set-ups or comebacks. Thrive on challenges. Remember, the real link is what you think. And if today's it's sparked even one little nugget way to live better, then my mission was accomplished.
It was accomplished, Dr. Mike.
We want you to stay kind, curious, and don't sweat the small stuff.
Wow. We needed that in this discussion today because the link is what you think, and don't sweat the small stuff, which a lot of us do. We struggle with things with that. So I want to start off, Dr. Mannis, you emphasize a whole person perspective. What does that look like for a student struggling with dyslexia beyond reading itself?
So the way that I tend to think about, remember how we used to hear this idea that when we're taking care of kids or trying to help our clients advance, that we want to think about TLC, tender loving care, because after all, we're so caring. Well, using what we know now about the neuroscience of learning, we really can adapt what I call the new TLC. And what I mean by that is we're all born with a different temperament. Some of us are slower to warm up. Some of us All right, Dr. Mantell, they need to read your book in page 60 more carefully because they might sweat the small stuff a little bit, get a little more irritable. Other people are more jocular by nature. And that's something that's inborn. That's something that we're born with. Chesson Thomas very famously followed people over the lifespan and saw that that's a trait that tends to stay the same. It's what you do with it. The L is for learning profile. So as we had discussed before, one person who's dyslexic might have a difficulty because of working with complicated language. We talked about how that's about 80% of people. For other people, the underlying learning issue might be that they have trouble with what we call visual organization. They might skip words or have trouble putting like a mental hierarchy in place. This is the main point of what I read. This is a little extra one. And so that learning profile is important. And then the C in the new TLC is what I call the culture or the context. So some people have a relationship with parents where they're able to go to them and discuss some things that are on their mind. There might be somebody else where a parent is preoccupied, or maybe during COVID, parents felt overwhelmed and their kids didn't feel as comfortable raising things with them. Some schools have a context where the program is much more lockstep and structured. And so if a child is having difficulty or there's a learning wellness consideration, it's going to be predictable and not be so difficult. Other schools are more creative, and so they may offer outlets for a child who's having difficulty and is having difficulty with reading, but it might not be picked up as much because the kind of assignments they have aren't tapping into that area. So when I'm thinking about the total experience of the person with dyslexia, I'm especially thinking of that TLC because those are factors against which the person is growing, and we want to think about how to help them have a better experience.
So one other question is, how do emotional, social, and executive function skills intersect with literacy development?
Such an important question. After all, we're not learning in a vacuum. We're learning against the backdrop of a broader environment. So I'll give you an example. I worked once with somebody who was dyslexic and had difficulty. We're talking so much about that because of Dyslexia Month, right? So the person had a lot of difficulty taking in a lot of information at once, even though the person was caring, thoughtful, and really had great ideas about what to do in the workplace. Not surprisingly, it could be very stressful. And who would have thought it was a real challenge when the person actually got a promotion and was asked to be a team leader. And suddenly, when there were team meetings, that person needed to take in a lot of information in the discussion and figure out a system in the moment. Not surprisingly, it was incredibly stressful. So that's an example that I think of where it's the intersection of mental health in terms of the person's feeling comfortable and having systems for managing what was understandably a very stressful situation. It also tapped into skill building that individual and I had to work on. We developed some ways to manage the actual meetings and also to set the person up for greater success ahead of time through some better planning. Not surprisingly, there was also this executive function aspect to it. Executive function is an overarching term for ingredients that go into being able to work well and efficiently. So one aspect of executive functions is figuring out a sequence. What are the steps if I need to get something done? Well, gee, if a person doesn't know when information that they're reading will be harder to understand, it makes it kind of tough to figure out those steps. Just as another example, thinking about the stress piece, task activation, being able to just get started. When a person is stressed out, not surprisingly, it's hard to figure out where to start. In fact, we know that it impacts our working memory, our ability to manage and juggle those details. So that's an example of where these are separate considerations, but they really are very much interrelated.
Rebecca, how do you handle teaching the idea that a learning difference can be a learning strength? It's something that you've talked about. And I think this is such a valuable perspective shift. I have difficulties learning, but there can be a strength in that too. Can you comment on that?
To me, it's about appreciating just how difficult it can be, not only for the child, but for the parents, for the teachers, because after all, it really is tough, especially when we're getting started or when there's a big transition. For example, starting college, that's a time when learning or attention issues can be enormously stressful. On the other hand, first of all, one silver lining is hopefully finding that there are people who really care, and that when you are proactive and look for help, not only can you find that there are people there who can work with you, but that you're going to find systems that really put you in the driver's seat. So that's a big part of it. Another aspect is that, as we discussed, learning isn't only a factor of one consideration. It's not just the pace that we read or our ability to mentally juggle information when we're doing math calculations in our head. And so one of the most important aspects that can be empowering is this concept of metacognitive awareness. Metacognitive awareness means that the more we understand our thought process, the more we can then use systems and recognize those inner strengths and apply them in different situations. And that's one of the silver linings of getting started early, identifying and intervening early, so that children grow up seeing that they're able to advocate for themselves and use these systems along with their great critical thinking skills to manage what's ahead for them.
I would say, if I can ask you, what do you think about having the question to a child, tell me one good thing about this learning difficulty that you're having. What's one good thing? I think we'd be surprised about some funny and positive kinds of answers that we get from children. I'd like to hear about that.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We got to take a station break. We'll answer that question when we get back. So I'll tell you what, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you got to do is pick up the phone, dial 188. That's 1-800-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Are y'all ready?
There's much truth in a journey that ain't over yet.
Millions of you watch this show, and I know that you are dying of the next episode. Don't miss it out. It's coming from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Africa. Watch this program, this show.
Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet. Available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Now hear this.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, link is what you think. This absolutely great guest, Dr. Mike, hit a home run. We gotta have her back on again if her schedule permits. We gotta do part 2 because we a lot of stuff that we're not gonna get to, and a part 2 will afford us the opportunity to get through all these things. So, Dr. Mannis, if your schedule permits, we would love to have you back on for part 2.
It would be my pleasure.
Great.
Yes.
And Michelle, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's just it's such a, well, I wouldn't say simple question, but Dr. Mannis, what challenges have you experienced trying to, reach families and just make people understand about the challenges and the difficulties, especially when it comes to a specific topic?
Well, I think there are 2 things. First of all, the good news is nobody is invested in a child as a parent. The challenge is that it's difficult to feel that you can't solve your kids' challenges, and it's difficult to face, especially because we know that very often learning issues have a genetic basis to them, and so it might touch into an experience that a person had in their own growth, or maybe with a sibling. So that can be kind of hard. I would say that one of the greatest challenges to me is that these days things are very siloed. So there are people who are thinking technology. They may not be thinking, how can technology really help this child, right? How can technology help this child who gets math, but can be disorganized in how they lay out their ideas, so that the child can really grow in their math? Or they might not be as attuned to what is it about the technology that might be tough for a particular individual. For example, just because technology provides a lot of information to a child, that doesn't mean that the child has the ability to absorb it or memorize it at a pace that's manageable, and that can be stressful.
Thank you.
So you opened the topic of technology, and this is our last segment for this show. We'll have episode number 2 with Dr. Mannis coming up, but let's talk a little bit about technology. You can't talk about technology in any field, entertainment, medicine, education, you name it, without there being people who are terrified of it and people who are think it's the best thing in the world. How can technology, what opportunities and pitfalls are there that technology brings, particularly to children with learning difficulties today? What should parents be alert for?
One great advantage is exactly what we're doing right now. I feel very privileged that I've worked with people on many continents, being able to zoom in and be on team meetings and advocate, to speak with attorneys about trends in disability law and what that means in terms of appreciating the rights that their clients might have. So that's an example right up front. Another example that's more practical in terms of thinking about how children learn is, for example, ways that technology helps around executive functions and helps people manage deadlines. Very often people with ADHD also have dysgraphia. They have trouble with handwriting and revisions. And so right there, it's an enormous opportunity to be able to organize ideas and express themselves much better. One of the greatest challenges is also that we can't necessarily work as efficiently as technology produces information. We're still growing.
I thought I heard a beep on your end. Was it your phone, right?
It was.
Okay, perfect. I love it. Because my next we didn't plan this, by the way, folks.
Exactly.
My next question really is, what are multitasking and constant notifications truly harming our attention? What do you think about that?
I think they are, and I'll give you two examples just from this naturalistic experience. So we know that the part of the nervous system that particularly coordinates attention is the frontal lobe, the front part of the cortex of the most thinking part of the brain. And we know that one of the functions of the cortex is to be able to switch gears. But after all, the messages still need to go across between the different brain cells. And there's a limit to how much we can incorporate and how often we can switch gears. So right there, when we have technology constantly interrupting us, it can really interfere with our ability to use our resources for those executive functions. Right underneath in a more primitive part of the brain that all animals have is the amygdala, which controls emotion. And not surprisingly, it's very stressful to manage divided attention and constant interruption. There's an important task at hand.
We have a few minutes left. You had an example of a famous producer. Tell us about that.
Well, ADD is on my mind these days because I'm going to be in Texas starting tomorrow. The American Psychological Association is hosting a 2-day conference on technology and mental health. So with that, I was speaking with some colleagues today about this very matter. And I mentioned Ari Emanuel, who is very open about attention and reading disabilities that he's had over the years. And he's very kindly shared his experiences to be a motivational example to others. And he says that when he was little, reading and having to do all of his homework was so difficult. One of the things that he figured out early on was how to determine which was the right person to draw upon to send a task somebody else's way so that they would do it for him. And he feels that it was both the relationship building and that ability to ascertain different people's competencies that helped him figure out how to organize tasks and delegate to get the job done.
He turned his learning difference into a learning strength. That's amazing.
We're out of time, but I tell you what, we'd love to have you back on. Dr. Mike, can you make it happen?
Absolutely.
Love to have you back on for part 2. I'd like to thank always Dr. Michael Mantell for bringing these absolutely fantastic guests on and talk about topics that all of us need to understand. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely extraordinary show. I'd like to thank our producers in San Diego, Todd Pirate, and also in Dallas, Fort Worth. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and the listeners for always tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life, Monday through Friday. So I tell you what, always dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you then.